I think if you're a small dealer, you should stay the hell away from Fender.
The Know Your Gear podcast.
I got 2 of these emails from 2 different people. I'm not going to disclose the names of either one of the businesses, so that makes sense, but I'm going to kind of read on one more. So I had 2 small businesses reach out. They were really upset, one more so than another, but both were distraught about something that had taken place, which is they're both Fender dealers. In this case, we're talking about FMIC, so specialty. If you didn't see, Fender obviously came out with the Ventura 2, but also they came out with the new USA Jackson Randy Rhoads guitars. Those were really interesting. And FMIC, which is specialty, Fender specialty, also came out with which we had talked about this. Vim 69 had brought this up once about, I don't know, half a dozen episodes ago. Gretsch has come out with a Synchromatic, which means it's made in China, not Japan. And so they're not calling it the White Falcon, they're just calling it the Synchromatic Falcon electric guitar, Snowcrest White. This is $14.99. And again, like I said, let's verify this. I'm 99% sure it is crafted in China instead of Japan, which is why it's not. And then for those of you, because some of you guys are not maybe super informed on these guitars, you understand the made in Japan ones are $3,000, $4,000. So yeah, $4,000. So I mean, obviously it's a lot less expensive. As we've talked about before, $1,500 sounds like a really good deal versus $4,000. So, do they have a black one too? Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. That's cool. So they have a black Falcon as well. I'm going to double check that. Yep. It's pretty cool. Let's go back to the White Falcon. So if you've been thinking about getting a White Falcon and you did not want to spend $3,000, keep in mind you can find one for about $2,500 used, no problem. So still, this puts it at $1,000 less than that. You can get yourself a made in China White Falcon. One thing to notice that's cool is it comes with a case. This is going to be the new price for hollow body guitars. I told you guys that fourth quarter, there's a ton of new gear coming out. I have piles of it here for lots of videos to come out. And I can tell you that the price increases that I've seen have been significant. And this is the new norm. $1,500 for, Indonesian, Chinese guitars, $2,000 for Indonesian guitars. For those that have heart conditions and haven't had their pills yet, let me just tell you that in the fourth quarter this year, you're going to see multiple guitar launches from multiple companies with guitars made in China, Indonesia, in the $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 and higher price points, $2,500. Multiple ones from multiple brands. I'm just preparing you right now in case that's something that's going to make you snap. Okay, then just be aware it's coming. So when you see the YouTubers launching all the videos, just be prepared. That's coming down the pike. The first time I saw it, I thought it was interesting. I would say I have at least 12 videos to launch for new product between now and the end of the year. And out of the 12 products that are not made in USA, that are actually made in Indonesia and China, I don't think a single solitary one of them is under $1,500 ish. So 14 and change. Just be prepared. That's the new price they're all shooting for. So this is new, the new normal, as we would say. So this guitar. So why are we talking about this? Well, one, I think this is cool. Obviously, I'm a Gretsch fan. I want a White Falcon, and I just don't want to spend $3,000 for one. So is this something I would check out? Maybe. I don't know. Part of me is like, I don't know, I can get a used one for a little bit more. But also, like I said, even used $1,000 more. But that's not what I was getting messaged about. I was getting messages from dealers saying that basically they're not getting their inventory and that the inventory is going to Sweetwater. In the past, and if one dealer sent that, I think I probably wouldn't say anything. I'd be like, well, maybe you should have put your order in on time. But to have multiple dealers reach out and say, hey, man, this isn't right. I feel like Fender's snubbing us small guys. We're not getting our inventory. The bigger guys are. What's funny is I'm with you because I feel for you because I side with a small business every time. I was a small business. I still am a small business. So I'm going to side with you. However, I've said this before and it's just this. Let me just get this out and then we'll go down the road a little bit. I think if you're a small dealer, you should stay the hell away from Fender. And, I've said this many times, probably why they don't like to send me stuff. I think stay the hell away from Gibson, stay the hell away from Fender. It's not because they're evil corporations. It's just, they're too big to care about you. And there used to be some truth, more so, and there's less so now, and it's going to be less next year and less next year and less. There used to be a time where even though you could argue the big companies didn't care about the small dealers, collectively small dealers were bigger than the big dealers. So yeah, Guitar Center was a big problem. However, all the mom and pops collectively were way more dominant than Guitar Center. The stats are definitely shifting the other way every single day. Sweetwater, Amazon, Guitar Center, Thomann, AMS, and Zounds, which is also Musician Friend with Guitar Center, they are dominating the markets. And the thing that you need to understand is one company is showing it to you, right? They're showing you the information. That would be Guitar Center. Go into Guitar Center. If you're in the know, if you're in this industry, if you don't know, just you can ask AI. AI, some AI search will tell you. Just understand that FMIC Fender is Fender Squier, Jackson, Charvel, Gretsch, EVH, Groove Tubes, and something else, right? A bunch of other brands. I think the rest are all shelved. Those are the main ones. 7 brands. 7 main brands, okay? So when you go into Guitar Center and you see those 7 brands, that's just Fender. So think about that just for a second, okay? So you go into Guitar Center, and then you look at the other brand. That's Gibson, Epiphone, and Kramer, right? Well, that's 3 brands. That's 10 brands that you think you see on a wall, but that's 2 accounts. It's 2 companies. So I would ask you, the next time you go into any Guitar Center and you look on the walls, not used, just look at new, and you count brands, count, the main companies, not just the individual. Don't go, those are 10 brands. Go, those are 2 brands, 2 companies, right? So 2 companies. And then now I want you to think about mentally how much of the wall is occupied by them. It's most of the wall. I mean, in most Guitar Centers, what else would you see? A few Schecters, a few Ibanez's, maybe a few LTDs, a few Sterling Music Man, products, right? Okay, there's 4. I mean, can you even come up with half? That's 4. We're trying to. I just told you that's 10 brands. It's 2 companies. Try to think of 5 alternative brands. What's another one that's on the walls? Maybe Yamaha. Okay, so there's 5 brands. So if there was 15 electric guitar brands on the walls dominating the pegs, Fender and Gibson, or what is it, 75% of that? Whatever the number is. It's a huge part of that. Sweetwater is no different. So they're a little harder to detect because you go to their website and it's just an infinity of brands. But what you would do is this time, if you wanted to, you wouldn't go by the variety of brands. You would go by the variety of SKUs. In other words, how many different products does Sweetwater have? I would argue thousands of different SKUs between FMIC and Gibson versus the other brands, right? A little bit more diverse than Gibson or than Guitar Center, but still. So what I'm trying to tell you as a small dealer is, it's not even that you can't compete with the bigger companies. It's that you are carrying the thing that they're carrying, and they're carrying it heavy. And so that's what I'm trying to tell you is I feel for you. I get that this is traumatic for you, that you're like, hey man, this is unfair. And it's right to call it out for being unfair. Hey, these companies like Fender, they're shipping the bigger companies. Like obviously we just looked. I mean, you got to understand what I'm just saying. Think about this. I just told you 2 different music stores in this country were like, hey, we can't even get this guitar in stock. And to say Sweetwater has 6 is not true, because if you haven't seen how Sweetwater works, if we were to buy one of these right now, most likely within seconds of the purchase, it would still show 6 because they would load in another one. They have other ones preloaded. They only show you so many at a time, okay? And so they could have 20 of these. They could have 50 of these. They could have a lot. And used to be, and it still kind of works that way, it used to be by demographic, and that's a really that's problematic now, because think about how the business model is broken. When I was a Fender dealer, it was broken down by your demographic, where you were. So in the Phoenix area, where I am, which there would be me, Milano's, Bizarre Guitar, Rainbow in Tucson, Guitars, etc. in Tucson, which I think is now Chicago Music Exchange. Okay, I don't know why I'm doing this way. It's 5 Fender dealers. I'm probably missing somebody maybe. I'm trying to think of high-level tier Fender dealers. Like all of us were in their top tiers for carrying all the products. So 5 dealers in the area. And so, like I said, if you opened a store and you go, hey, I want to carry, Fender, they would go, no, you're too close to Milano's or a Bizarre Guitar or whatever. But now, I mean, Guitar Center, and of course that never accounted for Guitar Center, because when I said all those stores, keep in mind there was 5 Guitar Centers in Phoenix and 2 in Tucson. But now when you think about something like Sweetwater, well, I gave my piece of advice to a friend early on when it came to Sweetwater, and he said he was dealing with Guitar Center, he was not happy with the way it was working, and he said, I don't know if I should leave them and double up with Sweetwater. And he says, Guitar Center's got 300 stores. And I said, yeah, and Sweetwater's got 3 million phones that they're on. So, I mean, where do you want to be? In 300 different locations or 3 million phones? Kind of the argument, right? So I would say I understand your stress. We feel for you. I think as a community, we feel for the small dealer. We see it all the time. And I will say this, just as a thought. There's a great article. If I can find it, I will try and find it. It's from at least 10 years ago, could be 15 years ago. It was a larger small dealer. In other words, this dealer had like 10 stores in the country, and they got rid of Fender. And they made a famous article, had a famous quote, which is, we got rid of Fender, but you can't even tell because we have so much used Fender. Like, that's basically the takeaway, right? They were like, basically, you can always have you'll always have Fender on the walls because there's so much used Fender that you'll have it. That's my argument. Think about this, and I mean this, and I'm not telling you to do this because obviously reasons, but what I'm saying is to the dealers that reach out to me and said, hey, look at the problem we're having with Fender or Gretsch or whatever. I just told you, we just talked about G&L and their current situation. And I'm like, that's what's sad is that, Sweetwater and I guess Guitar Center carry G&L, but they don't focus on it. They focus on Fender. So, and I believe that G&L, if they could have got the dealer, the small dealer market to kind of get behind them, maybe they wouldn't have had to go with the bigger dealers. So I just think I think that's the way you kind of think now is in the future. If you're a small dealer, definitely go use products because it's always a new store every day with new products. But I would definitely look for products that, that are more exciting and different than those 10 brands that are in every one of the big chains and every one of the websites. That's just my thought on it. I told you guys this before. There was an old saying, and I believe this is now the case. There used to be a saying that said, "The brands make the store," and I don't believe that's true anymore. I believe it was true then. That's not true anymore. I believe brands don't make your store. That people walk in. I know you think it does because I hear it from small dealers all the time. People walk in and they go, "Do you guys have Fender? Do you have Gibson? Do you have this stuff?" And you go, "No, we have Godin and we have, whatever, pick another brand, right? G&L, we have G&L and Godin." And you think you're losing a sale. The customer's walking out. But the reality is that I think that in today's market, it's really about the experience and the information, right? So in other words, like you have a one-on-one experience with a customer that no one else can have that experience in a big corporation on a website. And also, you can teach those customers something. It's a lot more work, but I think it's just the way to think of it. I think it's the only way you guys survive in my 2 cents when I look at dealers. If you're not doing service, if you're not doing used, I just don't know how you combat that. And that's why I made it a point to highlight, look, if you thought I took the Sweetwater test and sat at Sweetwater for 8 days and went through all their stuff because I was going to get a lot of clicks, you really do not understand the internet. You look back at those videos; those are not high-performing videos for me. There's a reason why every time I went to Sweetwater, there was a reason why when I went to Tolman, there was a reason why when I went to Guitar Center, I always made a "what guitar would I buy" video in a store that got 1 million views or 500,000 views, because that's how I was paying for my time and trip. It's because I'm like, oh, if I make this video, people like to watch you shop in a store. I guess it's just something I learned, so I did it. I would make that video to pay for the trip, but to take the Sweetwater test, which by the way, 60 Cycle Steve sometimes here, he took it with me, and to share that with you and share these other things and share some of the insights of these CEOs and stuff. The thought for me was I had the opportunity to share that with you. No one else would do that. Not no one else would, like, besides me would do it. They wouldn't do that with anyone else. They wouldn't let, a lot of people just go, hey, what is your test like? Hey, let me see the back end of your 55-point inspection. They let me do it. Maybe they respected the channel. I don't know. Maybe they're a little afraid of the channel. I don't know. I really don't care. The point is I shared the information, and I hope that you guys, if you're dealers out there, and I know a lot of small dealers watch this on Fridays and listen to it in the background of their stores. I get told every time I go in stores. I hope that you guys are paying attention to all the stuff I'm sharing with you, and you make some kind of decision with that, because it's not that I think you're going to die and you can't survive against the big chains and the big internets. I'm just saying that you need to be something different than them. So just stay away from them. Do something different.
So if you like this clip and you'd like to watch another one, you can click right here. And if you want to see the entire episode of the podcast, you can click right there. As always, thank you for your time and know your gear.